Hello, everyone. My name is Robert St-Jacques. I'm a full stack HR person with 25 years of global experience. Now, you've sent us some fantastic questions, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So this comes in from one of our admins who asks, we want to know what others are doing for continuous performance management right now, and what practical resources can we share or use to train our people with, or maybe convince our executives. So in terms of practical resources you can use yourselves and or share with your team, the first part I would like to talk about is doubling down on your rituals. So I'd mentioned the importance of rituals before in the goal setting process, but this continues on further down and into the continuous performance management process. While it's great that you're setting new objectives, you're involving your team in setting those objectives, that calms people down a little bit and gives them a measure of comfort and certainty. But in terms of continuous performance management, continue, right? So this means highlighting the importance of the employees checking in to those goals or objectives regularly and with discipline, so that everybody in the organization knows what they're doing and how they're moving along and accomplishing some of their objectives. The next piece is one-on-ones. So ensure that if before you're maybe having a once a month one-on-ones with a lot of periodic conversations around the water cooler, or you had an open door policy, well, that doesn't exist anymore. So what I would say is, again, double down on the one-on-ones. Structure it, set it, and if it was formal once a month with the occasional ad hoc conversations, I would try to move them up and focus on having them on a weekly basis, and just again to touch base and to have some of those conversations that may involve some mental health and stress issues as well. Continuing on from that, beyond check-ins and one-on-ones, is basically the concept of recognition. Like, people are working hard. They're doing things differently. They're working at home with all kinds of noise, children, spouses, grandparents, roommates and things like that. So, they're trying to do the same or more than they did before in much more trying circumstances. In terms of nitty gritty, in terms of process, right? So a nice structure and process always helps us out. And I'd like to give a shout out to one of my former colleagues at 2454, Eslam, who has put together a COVID-19 countermeasures, and we'll include the link, underneath the video here. But basically, he, highlights basically a 6-part process. So, right. So the first one is support your people and uphold your culture. Then put your business model to the test, really doubling down on, is this what we want to do? Protect your revenues and your customers. The other interesting piece, which I spoke about in answers to the other questions, right? Accelerate operational stability. So what are those things you should have been doing? If you're a tech company, do you start retiring more tech debt right now? The second to last piece is optimize costs and prioritize investments, right? So before it was, yeah, things were great, we're making a lot of money. So in terms of, where should we be putting our money, and start to look at some of your costs. And lastly, he calls it the gloves off, defend and gain market share. Because again, business is not stopping. And yes, the way we do business has changed, but the process of commerce, keeps on rolling. So by putting together this structured plan, and you could start to look at, okay, so how do we move through these phases? What do we need to do? Again, use your continuous performance management process to put these into play and ensure that the folks are aligned and taken care of and are accountable all the way through, by looking at the process and the system to ensure that all these things are getting done.